and welcome to Cheap Joe's Art Stuff. My name is Julie and I'm here to impart some knowledge to you today via a 2-minute art tip. But let me go ahead and tell you straight away, in case you're crunched for time, this is not going to be 2 minutes. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. If you've been watching regularly, you know I have talked about a show that's on HBO called Painting with John. And it's an artist and musician named John Lurie who lives on this beautiful tropical island. And basically, he just paints and talks. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to follow that through line a little bit. We're just going to paint and I'm going to talk. The point of this is to kind of reinforce the important role that kind of meditative painting can play. And what I mean when I say meditative painting, I'm saying that painting that doesn't necessarily have a pre-described outcome. I'm going to be doing something today that is just about rhythm and color and nothing else. So that I can just kind of delve into the process and not get too worked up about like what the final outcome is. I can't speak highly enough about this kind of process, about letting yourself take a moment to kind of reset and do one of these kind of paintings for yourself that doesn't necessarily have a goal. It's a really, really great way to kind of explore and play and kind of just reacquaint yourself with material and all that kind of stuff without the pressure to perform. One of my favorite things about watching Painting with John is that he has a very kind of meditative style. It's not really clear whether he has a point to any kind of piece when he starts out or a pre-described idea. I mean, they end up kind of just amazingly cool at the end, but you're not really sure if like that's exactly what he started out to do or if he just kind of ended up there. So today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to just start painting and see where we end up. And then I'm going to tell you some stories, just like John does on his show. What we've got here, just to kind of let you know where we're starting off, is I have a 12x16 Kilimanjaro bright white 300-pound block because I love them and they're my friend. I have a Skip Lawrence palette here that is not fully loaded. I'm just working with some limited colors. We will expand and show you how we go from there. But what I'm going to do is I've got my number 3 American Journey Interlocked nylon brush that I'm going to be using. I also have like a little travel brush. This is a number 8 in case I need it, but because I've been using a lot of travel brushes. I like the little teeny handles. They're really cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to be making use of all of the visual space. I'm actually just going to tape off some of the area. And just as a little tip, so when you're using artist tape, one of Joe's tips is, I'll show you what we're doing. I got my artist tape on my leg. And so what you're going to do is you're going to put it on your pant leg and then pull it off. And what it does is it keeps the tack from getting too like aggressive and gripping onto the paper too much. And I'm just using this not as an area where I'm like actually blocking off color, but just kind of establishing where I want my the painting to kind of finish and end. Because I don't want it to go off or even close to the edges. I want to kind of constrain where everything's happening. So I'm using my artist tape as kind of an invisible framework without having to put pencil line in there that I then have to take back up. So these are just approximate and not a big deal. We're just kind of laying in the visual space here. So we've laid down our artist tape, got our block, got us some wash water. We're set to go. So I'm just going to be making some marks with color, just pure color. I'm probably not going to be mixing anything. I'm going to start out with American Journey Junebug. I love this color. It is so pretty. And you'll see that it's just a wet brush. We're just activating the color in the palette, and then we're going to come over here and we're just going to start making some marks, y'all. And I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. So, I don't know if you've ever had one of those experiences where something happens to you and in the moment you are living it and feeling it live, real time as it happens, and you know, like, when it's unfolding, that this is going straight into the hippocampus and you're never gonna forget this. Like, it's in your the very, very core of your brain for a thing that happened. Well, I have this thing that happened. This is about 20 years ago. And I will call this story, I'm Not Your Girl. And what I mean is that my friend, years ago, when I was kind of reestablishing a foothold in my life, invited me down for their annual 4th of July celebration. And my friends and their cousins, and they had like kind of a really cool family compound even. Like, all, you know, everybody lived pretty close together, and they had this shared land that the family still owned, and they would get together there. And they were having their big 4th of July throwdown, and they invited me to come out. And I was super excited because they were super excited because they had upped the ante once again. This year, they were doing even bigger, even more crazy fireworks. And, you know, these were, the guys in this family were electrical engineers, all this kind of stuff. And so they had actually come up with, they had their fireworks on timers, and every year they were, you know, the fireworks thing was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And this year, they were like, okay, well, the fireworks that we bought are even larger than normal. And so what we've decided to do is, for safety reasons, some of the bigger ones, we're going to bolt down to the floor of a pull-behind trailer with a wooden floor so that we can keep them, you know, stable and stuff. And I was like, that sounds like a very reasonable, good idea. And so we go, and then we get there, and the family's arriving, and we all did the potato salad, baked beans thing, you know, that whole bit. And then when the sun started to go down, it was time to get serious. And my friend asked me, he's like, you know, my grandma's here. She's kind of unsteady on her feet. Would you mind looking after her and help her back and forth? Would you mind sitting with her during the fireworks? And I was like, absolutely, no problem, and stuff. This is not a big deal. I'll be glad to. So me and Grandma are sitting there, and we're in this big open field, and we're all kind of in a semicircle, and the trailer full of fireworks is, you know, ahead of us, way ahead of us. It's a good distance for safety reasons. And the sun's going down, the tension is building. And what happens is, one of the things they didn't plan on was that, yes, they had bolted down all of the larger fireworks onto the floor of the trailer, but they didn't bolt down all of them. And what happened is that the fireworks, the big ones, when they would go off, it would shake that trailer so badly that the smaller ones tipped over. And since they were all on a timer, you couldn't shut them off. So the smaller fireworks tipped over and started shooting directly at all of us. Me and Grandma were right there in the line of fire. And Jules doesn't react well to stuff like this. And as there were flaming balls of fireworks flying in between my head and Grandma's head, I look over and she's screaming, you know, run! This, and all I could see is blue and pink and red flashes and stuff like this. And I don't know if you're like this, but I am. And my family, we're kind of genetically programmed that when stressful, awkward things happen, we just start laughing and we're useless, you know. And so Granny didn't appreciate the comedy of the moment and proceeds to get really aggravated at me and was like screaming like, help, run, you know. And when I'm dying doubled over with laughter, it makes it even less likely that I'm going to be any help at all. And just to be clear, it wasn't intentional. I didn't mean to, you know, but I did manage to get her safely out of the chair and back to the house with neither of us catching on fire. But, you know, as it was unfolding, you know, when you have, you know, fireballs flying past your head, I just couldn't help indulging in the magic of the absurdity of it all, you know. But Grandma was not as enchanted by the absurdity of it all, and made sure to tell me with all clarity that I was useless in an emergency. And I didn't argue with her. I already knew that, you know, but you know, I felt real bad because here I was in charge of Grandma, and like, you know, I'm just not your go-to person in that kind of situation. So I apologize to Grandma for scaring her needlessly, but you know, she's fine. It's okay. So just know that, like, when stuff goes down, don't look to me. I'm not helpful. I freeze. So right now I am using some Andrew's Turquoise. This is like straight color, like right out of the tube, and we're just playing around, adding dashes of color wherever I see fit. This is just an exploration in random theory. There's no point, you know, there's no point, there's no outcome that I'm looking to have. We'll just kind of see what happens, which is the whole point of today's exercise. We're just playing with paint and having a good time. And I wholly recommend that you do the same on a regular basis. Just get in there and play and see what happens, and see what kind of fun you can have, and do some stuff. So I'll tell you just another embarrassing story, because that's basically my life, is a collection of absurd things that happen that really weren't on purpose. Pretty much. So next story is about some friends of ours from Miami came up on vacation. Now, granted, one of our friends, he went to college up here. Our friends Derek and Xavier. Derek went to ASU. I met him in college a long time ago. And they came up for a visit, and so he knew the irregularities of mountain weather up here. He understood. This wasn't new. But we were desperately trying to cram in as much fun stuff to do while they were here visiting as we possibly could. And so we were like, you have to go kayaking with us. Kayaking's so great. We go out and do all this fun stuff. Let's go. So we packed up all the boats and we were heading, just a few minutes from my house. We were going out on the new river. We're going to take them for a few miles down the river. And normally, like, if you're poking about and you stop to take a swim, it's a couple of hours, not that big of a deal. It's leisurely, it's fun, and all this kind of stuff. Now, we had checked the weather. We're not complete idiots and stuff like that. But if you've ever been to the high country, there's a saying that if you don't like the weather, wait 15 minutes, you know, because it's that kind of variable. And this is, you know, the crux of our story. So we get, about an hour in, and, you know, we started to feel a little chill in the air. We can't really see anything because the New River Valley, you're kind of shielded by a lot of the neighboring mountains. So there are several points along the river that you barely have a little piece of a sliver of sky that you can see. And we're going along, having a great time. Had a little swim, playing around, skipping rocks, stuff like that. Taking a look at the fish and the crawdads and all that kind of good stuff. And then, if you've ever been out and you can smell the rain, you can smell it before you can see it, before you can hear it. And we were still an hour away from the car. And all you can see is just a giant blanket of gray rolls over the mountaintop, and we're like, oh no. And it just came like a wall, a white wall of rain came over the mountaintop and straight towards us. We could actually hear it and smell it before we could see it, and by then it's too late and you're done. So what ended up happening was the four of us in kayaks and my sweet little daughter, who was kind enough to ride along in a raft, basically an elaborate pool float that we were pulling her on. We were about to get annihilated, and that is what happened. And so floating down the river, trying to paddle as fast as you can, but you can't look up because you're being pummeled with rain. Very, very hard. As we said, a good hour away from the car still, and even longer yet when you can't see to paddle or to move. And so we were very, very, very happy to see the boat ramp when we finally got to it. Very happy. But also found that it was quite a challenge to get the boats out of the water because we couldn't lift them because they were so full, and ended up having to dump the contents of the boat in their entirety out and turn them upside down in order to get them out of the water. Lightning was, striking all around us. I mean, you couldn't even hear because of the white noise of the rain. And it was just, again, hysterical, because that's how I react to things. We were all laughing to the point where we were breathless. And it was just a thing, which is kind of what it's like when you hang out with me. Stuff happens. And then Julie just starts laughing, doubles over and just laughs. Right now I'm actually using Periwinkle, which is one of my favorite colors. Absolute favorite color, actually. And I'm just putting swaths of color wherever I think to lay them in. These are just like little color dashes, and it's fun. If you've never been kayaking before, you are missing out. It's one of my very, very favorite things. I'm a water freak anyway, just on any given day, but like, I love all the cool places that you can go in a kayak that you can't go with like a regular boat and stuff. Just so many fun times that I've had with my friends and my family, going places, doing things. In my kayak, best money I've ever spent. Now I'm using American Journey Shadow, which is like a very, very rich, deep purple. It is gorgeous. And granted, all I've got in here right now are like cools. I know that. It's fine. You know, whatever. We'll play it up and, you know, maybe head in another direction a little bit later. But right now, this is what we're doing. And as you can see, you know, not like I have a plan. We're just playing in the paint. Just having a good time. You know, I think that these kind of painting experiences are sometimes where you learn the most, when it's not about a goal, it's not about the finished product. This is just enjoying the process, enjoying your material, like letting it show you what it can do and all the things it can be. So you just play a little and learn, and that's okay because it's fun, and that's mostly what it's about. Don't ever let your painting become where it's like a chore, because it will change. It'll change the work and it'll change you if you let it become a burden. And it's not good. It won't change you in a good way. It changes it in a not good way. So I'm still putting in little dashes of shadow right now. I'm using my American Journey Interlocked nylon brush. This is my 3. I use the 3 a lot. I like the 3. It's good. And then I'm grabbing some Passionate Purple. We're gonna punch it up some, so they can play around. Passionate Purple, and we're gonna, you know, and I like pure color. I like to see what it does when it's next to its neighbors. How it looks different next to this Andrew's Turquoise versus how it looks next to this Periwinkle versus how it looks next to all the other things. So I just kind of put them in there, see what happens, let it be when it's going to be, and enjoy, because that's really what it's about. And we want you to fall in love with your materials. We want you to fall in love with the process and enjoy it, and let it become a part of who you are. And don't be afraid. And I think part of not being afraid is giving yourself permission to do stuff like this that makes no sense, that other people are going like, why did you do a painting of dashes? And you're like, well, because I wanted to. And that's the best reason you can give, because that's the only reason that you need, because I felt like it and I wanted to, and that's why I did it. And I had fun. And whether it turns out to be an anything or big fat nothing is basically not that important. But we are done with our storytelling and playing in the paint for now. So thank you for joining us. I hope that you had a giggle at my expense. Learned a little bit. So grab some paint and a brush or pen and some paper and have some fun. Enjoy the process and just let it go. And send us a result. Let us see what you came up with. Whether you felt like it was successful or not, just send us. We'd love to see it. And thank you for joining us, and we hope that you enjoy.